Okay, so in this tutorial I'm going to explain what happened under Muhammad. Muhammad lived and was prominent in Arabia in the early 600s until 632 when he died. As we saw in class, he said that the angel Gabriel, that you can see in this picture, came down to him from God, and God in Arabic is called Allah, and told him that Muhammad was the last prophet and that he needed to spread the word of God in Arabia and in other lands, and that God, or Allah, is the only true God. You have to remember here that at this time, in the early 600s AD, a lot of people in Arabia and in many other places were still polytheistic. They believed in many different gods. And so Muhammad now believed that he had the truth. He knew that Allah was the only true God, and he had to go and spread the word. He taught that Allah is the only God. Allah is the Arabic word for God. The religion that he created is called Islam, and the followers in that religion are called Muslims. As you can see in the picture, here's a woman wearing the hijab, another teaching that is in the Quran, but we'll talk about that later. And Muhammad also taught that you had to follow the 5 pillars of faith. The 5 pillars are testimony of faith, which is saying that you only believe in one God, Allah, and you believe that Muhammad was the last prophet. You must pray 5 times a day, and Muslims pray in the direction of Mecca, which is their holy city. They also, once they reach puberty, have to observe Ramadan, which is fasting, not eating whilst the sun is up for a month. It's kind of similar to our Lent, as in they show their respect for God and love of God by sacrificing themselves, by not eating. Charity, which is alms, giving money to poorer people. And in the Islamic religion, they must give 2.5% of their savings. And finally, pilgrimage or Hajj, which is if they have enough money and time, they should, as a good Muslim, make the pilgrimage to Mecca once in their life. So what happened when Muhammad started to tell all the people in Mecca that the angel Gabriel had come down and that Allah is the only true God is that there were many people in Mecca at the time that believed in other things. And so they were angry with Muhammad for saying that Allah was the only true God because it went against what they believed, or because they were powerful people and they were worried about losing money or losing power in Mecca if people started to follow Muhammad. And so they start physically attacking Muhammad and his followers, his Muslims, and it becomes too dangerous for them to stay in Mecca. And so in 622, Muhammad and all his followers in Mecca, all his Muslims, leave Mecca. And this journey to another city called Yathrib, or now it's called Medina, is called the Hijra. Okay, it's the migration of Muhammad and his followers from Mecca to Medina in 622 because it's not safe for them to stay there. 8 years later, Muhammad has gathered many more followers and decides it's time to return to Mecca, to his hometown. And so in 630, Muhammad and 10,000 of his followers, not all of them, return to Mecca. And so at this stage, they're too powerful, there are too many of them for the people who are against Muhammad to keep them out of Mecca. And so he returns successfully, and now Muhammad and Muslim people are dominant in Mecca. The group of all the Muslims that believe Muhammad and follow Muhammad and Allah is called the Ummah, and they're the people that returned to Mecca in 630. So here's a picture of a group of Muslims, and the word is there on the slide, Ummah. This is the Kaaba, or the holy shrine, which I did explain in class, used to be a place for all people of all religious beliefs to go and pray and worship their God. At one point, there were over 300 different gods or idols worshipped there. But of course, when Muhammad starts preaching there's only Allah, the Kaaba gradually became a place only for Muslims. So it's in the center of a plaza. It's a very beautiful, decorative cube, and you can enter inside, but you can see all the people around it trying to touch it and pray at it because it's very holy and sacred for them. This is a map of Arabia and the surrounding territory, and if you look at the legend, the first box, the kind of peachy color, is the land that Muhammad managed to conquer and convert to Islam when he was alive. And then the other colors, the orange and later the kind of purpley pink, shows the people who came later, the rightly guided caliphs and the Umayyads, expanded the Islamic territory into Iran, Afghanistan, and North Africa. When Muhammad died in 632, many people were now Muslims. His aim was to convert as many people as possible because he had to tell them of the truth and that there's only Allah. And so it caused some problems when he died because he hadn't explained or said who he would like to take over after he died. And therefore, it took a little while for them to choose who to come next. In the end, they decided to vote democratically for the leader, and a man called Abu Bakr, a good friend of Muhammad, came to power. He is a rightly guided caliph, and in our next tutorial I explain what they did and who they were.